citizens are having some sort of election this year.
Yes.
The commoners will be voting for... It affects me little, so I care not.
I heard the working class is trying to support one of their own to become the president, but I heard he also owns 3 homes. Wow. More like 1/100th of the homes I own.
Yes, I remember my 3rd home.
How old were you, Kelly?
I believe I inherited it from my papa.
Now, Kelly, I've always meant to ask you this. That nickname you go by, Kelly, what is it short for?
Kelwood.
Ah, yes, Kelwood. So regal. I remember Sir Kelwood of the Danish court, who
My
had...
great-grandfather.
Ah, yes, I suspected as such. What a delight for you, what a delight.
Well, enough dilly-dallying, fellows. Shall we talk about today's piece of cinema?
Welcome to Cinema, Concertos, and Items of Curiosity.
A digital media recording regarding the finer things.
Hello? You've pointed at me as though I should speak, but I have no words at this moment.
You were to introduce yourself, young man.
Ah, that's right. My name is Scottifer Kensington Carryonimus the Fourth.
Whoa, my apologies, I did not let you get your entire title out there.
Esquire.
And who might you be?
Ah, yes, my name is Martin.
And I, as we've already
That's
gone
right.
over.
Ever since you began writing concertos and took on a moniker as a composer, you've gone by just the single name, Martin.
Well, you see, if I give out my last name, there are many who will... Or they look for me. You see, there's these fanatics, you might say, who they come to my house and they attempt to break into my chateau and they attempt to drag me out by my bootstraps and attempt to make me write a song for them in the streets like a common animal.
I don't believe that happens.
Well,
I buy it not.
I am here to tell you it's quite true.
I believe it's a fantasy of the mind.
Well, I do not partake in things such as you two do that would create such a fantasy for me, but...
Are you referring to my...
Libations? Yes, of course.
I say, good man, you shall not insult me so.
I meant no disregard. I just simply wanted to point out that I do not partake in such matters.
Those libations were a gift from the
I'm trying
south.
to remember... let me pause, gentlemen, for a moment. I, for the life of me, cannot remember the name of... It is a libation from a cactus that... Ayahuasca. That is what I was trying to conjure from my mind, but it escaped me.
Don't you need to not eat for weeks at end in order to take the full effects of that libation?
Yes, I'm sure that's absolutely true. Weeks on end, you'd avoid nourishment.
Martin, you seem to know a lot about ayahuasca. For someone who doesn't partake in libations.
It's simply...
Could it be these fanatics that come to your chateau?
Oh, but they bring nothing to me. They bring nothing, I promise.
They sure are dragging something from your bootstraps.
This week we are reviewing Citizen Kane, a 1941 American drama film by Orson Welles.
And may I just pause to say for a moment, this is good cinema.
Film. Oh, I could feel the celluloid burning on the yes. I could hear the reels about to burn every frame and the thrill of it inside it. This was Welles' first feature-length picture, and it was nominated for 9 Academy Awards, but did not claim the top drawer of Best Picture.
A travesty!
A travesty the American public has yet to rectify.
I say, my good man, in your excitement, I can't quite think of an eloquent way to say this, but you're peaking, my good man.
Oh, my apologies, sir. I simply have much enthusiasm.
Such passion, such vigor you have.
Enthusiasm for the art of cinema. I cannot help myself. This film, it tells the story of Charles Foster Kane, a young orphan boy raised to become a nice, wealthy newspaperman who eventually buys many other things, including a few marriages, We meet the Kane at the end of his life. At the beginning of the film, he says the word rosebud, leading to an investigation to find out exactly what rosebud is. What does it mean?
Yes, what did that rosebud mean? Well, we were sure to find out by the end of that film. No?
Certainly we thought we were, but I was lost on me entirely what the point of this film was.
They set it up, and with the mighty hammer of cinema, they knocked it down.
Using only 2 digits. 4 by 3.
The finest way to project a film onto a plane.
So much better than 16 by 9, the peasants' dimensions.
Bring me my vomit bucket, please.
Yes, sir. Post haste I shall.
Don't get on mic, please. Bring me the vomit bucket.
Back to the mixing board I go, sir.
I said get back to the mixing board and don't speak. Yes. We meet Kane as an orphan, raised by a wealthy man who had early ideas to do well by the common man, but eventually became what he despised most, apparently, a cruel, greedy, rich man. Who would feel such a way? The rich are bountiful. They give. That's what they do.
If you ask me, this is a movie about a man's rise to greatness and achieving the things everyone wants most in life, to be left alone and live in your weird cavernous house with your girlfriend.
Wife? I think wife at that point.
She's
Yes.
doing puzzles and you love it.
You love to come up upon her and simply comment on the puzzle that she's doing and say,
And you walk away for 2-3 weeks.
You scream at her from across the hall with your barely audible.
4 years of that.
Yes.
We love it.
Wow, we love it.
And then on to the next one.
That's right. Kelly, you've had how many wives?
Oh, I'm on my 6th, I think. I've lost count, to be honest.
Yes. I remember your 4th wife. She was quite hunchy, as they say.
Dear God, man, that's a rude... we're trying to have a civil podcast here.
That is my wife.
Ex-wife?
My wife, nonetheless.
Are you denying that she had a hunchback?
That's neither here nor there.
It's between this and the thing of you being dragged out of your house by fans, just a clear... It's made up.
She happens to
You're
press
going
play
off
on
the
this
handle,
audio
man.
media recording.
Oh, my apologies. We can cut it out. We can cut it out in post-production, of course.
I do hope that you edit this out. Your intern... That little knave,
His name is Newt. You can call him by his
Podrick.
name. Podrick Newt.
Podrick, the little engineer, he edits out things. Nary he edits them out.
I tell him not to cut things out. I think it's more natural for the audience, of course, to enjoy all of the interworkings of a show like
A
this.
cancellation will be put upon me.
Well, gentlemen, shall we discuss Citizen Kane further?
Always keeping us on track, Martin.
I
That's
do.
what I appreciate about you.
Like
It is
a
my-
true engineer of the train.
Choo-choo, getting back on the tracks now.
Our favorite mode of transportation, the locomotive. We take it everywhere.
Of course, none of the commoners can afford the tickets for that.
Yes. Recently, I was on a train trip, and while there was a bit of trouble, I would say, with one of the
There
passengers.
was trouble on your train trip.
Yes, there was trouble. One of the passengers was, you see, murdered in his sleep, they say. Yes.
What expressway were you on? Do
Well,
say.
of course,
And
I
put
was-
it in the most vaguely racist terms you can.
I was on the Orient Express, of course. Yes, it turns out that all of the other passengers had murdered the man together.
Well.
I overheard-
Spoiler alert.
I overheard this from my friend Hercule Poirot.
This is the loudest episode of the Poddingcast we've ever done, I do declare.
It's almost like we'll need multiple hard limiters on this episode in order to make it listenable.
Such details are for Poddington to worry about.
Of course, he shall handle it post-haste, of course.
Poddington 2.
The framing device of the newspaper trying to find out what this last word meant. Genius, genius, genius.
To quote another film that is genius.
Yes. Mr.
Monsieur Deeds.
Before he went to Washington, he was simply Deedsy. And oh, he was quite the genius. What I also wanted to know, so there's the reveal that Rosebud is this childhood sled of his and that it's somehow he's sad about this at the end of the film. I thought, with the beginning of the film when we meet Citizen Kane, the sled is in his hands when we meet him as a child. Why won't anyone just read the name of the sled when they're there? You could solve the puzzle now.
Wait, you're saying in the flashback of it, why didn't the guy look down and be like, I must remember this for later? Is that your premise, my good man?
So you're saying you're asking the investigator to break the fourth wall?
Well, was he not simply looking into the memories of these people, like in the Harry Potter films?
No, it was a conversation that he was having with the people, and then they dramatized it.
Oh.
You think that those people, they would have been referencing the sled, and he would have been... Oh, what word was Rosebud on the sled?
Well, what I would have asked, of course...
Was Rosebud on the house? Was Rosebud on his mom's shirt?
My first thought is simply, what brand is the sled? You say he's riding a sled outside. Okay, is it a radio flyer?
They say the person telling the story was like, while they were having that conversation in the house, he was riding a brand of sled.
He was riding a sled outside, and of course I took it upon myself to call out to the young child, and he cried, "The Union forever!
Boy,
the Union forever!"
Boy, yes. What sled is it?
Why, it's a Rosebud brand, sir.
And his father, did he have any words tattooed on his knuckles?
It had hates.
Something that...
And Ozzy.
Of course.
Ah, yes. This movie has a wonderful sense of humor.
I do say. Go on.
They keep saying in the film that having money isn't everything, and I simply don't understand it. These are just a few thoughts I had about the film.
I'm torn on the thematics. Because I enjoy money.
Yes.
But I don't want others to know I enjoy money.
So true.
And it seemed like Kane enjoyed the money as well, you would say.
I'd like my class to be exclusive.
It seems as though he never really does anything with the money for himself. Like, you never see him...
He had a huge fireplace at the end of this film.
That's true, but you never see him next to the fireplace. I have a
made
room that's
his
every wall
third
is a
wife a
fireplace.
star.
And I sit in there in just a pair of Hanes tighty-whities. And I enjoy it so. Kane, on the other hand, he has all this money and he seems miserable the entire time.
Yes.
Which I guess brings me to my main criticism about the film, which is several characters, like 3 or 4 times, just say what Kane's whole deal is.
What do you mean by deal, good boy? I don't understand this deal colloquialism
They
you're
sort
using.
of beat you over the head with it, I do,
I
to
don't
use such a blunt term of expression.
With an object?
Yes, if that object were just, again, explaining Kane's whole deal.
Don't understand what deal is, but I'll
You
allow
don't
it.
want love, Mr. Kane. You just want... It's just they just yell his motive. It feels like a term known as exposition.
Oh, yes, exposition. Invented by many filmmakers in the early 1900s. They use exposition to give you information about the story.
Yep.
That's all I had to say.
Indeed.
That brings me to thinking about how 45 minutes or so of this film is totally related to Kane's second marriage and how he seems to resent this woman for her lack of talent or ambition. Like, he seems to push her into being ambitious and ruins her life, almost as if...
She talks like Harley Quinn, I say.
She does talk like, "Hey, Mr. J!"
Hey, Mr. J!
Oh, it grated my throat to do a voice such as beneath me.
Natural for me.
Oh, did it? No. You do love your
I
New
was
York.
pretty ready with that.
You do
for
love
some
to do
reason.
characters on this show. I always forget about your character work.
Look, I shall do one of my most famous characters. Hey, I'm Poor Larry.
Poor Larry, why are you here again?
I took out a payday loan. I can't buy my kids shows.
Larry.
Doesn't that make you laugh so?
Did you have a question for poor Larry?
Poor Larry.
Yeah, what do you want?
Allow me to explain trickle-down economics to you once more.
Please, won't you, Mr. Rich Guy, explain it to me good?
I have all the money, and you get some of it.
Yeah, I know, not enough to feed me families.
That's not my problem.
He said me family like a common man. Ugh.
I gagged.
I did audibly.
In
What a beloved
on
character.
Epstein's Island, this bit kills, I say.
I'm not touching that at all. Ugh, I wouldn't. I can't.
What? What'd I say?
Epstein?
What?
Nothing.
What's the big deal,
Who's
fellows?
Epstein? Who's Epstein?
Who is this Epstein character you keep talking about?
What?
I know nothing of the sort.
Moving on.
Yes, I suppose we should rate the film. Are we ready to rate the film,
I
gentlemen?
say, no, such a rich film, we've barely touched upon the
All
topic.
right. Well, I'm sorry for jumping the gun. It is usually my role is jumping the gun, as they say.
It seems like you're just
Please
more
continue.
thinking about doing how you talk than than reviewing this damn
now.
thing.
Scotterson, if I may, please continue talking about the film.
I will. So, Citizen Kane. First of all, what's up with that title?
Well, I think he was a.
First of all, what is the deal with the title? Citizen Kane?
He's not a citizen, and he's not a Kane.
Well, you see, his last name was Kane. Scott, you must have missed the finer details of the film.
And he is, I suppose, an American
Well,
citizen.
I think it's that he wanted to simply be a citizen.
Was he running for governor or president?
President at the end of the film. He was running for president of the United States. It was. Many people say that this film is sort of reminiscent of William Randolph Hearst and of the man named Pulitzer, I believe, as well.
Don't it? Get out of here, poor guy, Larry.
I'm not sure I follow.
So, William Randolph Hearst, he owned many newspapers, and Kane was based sort of on that person as if he were a character by Mr. Orson Welles, the filmmaker.
A Lifetime film. Based on a true story.
It was based on a true story, just like many of Lifetime's fine pictures. Can we talk about Lifetime films for a second? I have recently watched quite some good Lifetime films, and
Oh, yes. List the titles.
List
please.
them all.
all right.
Won't you?
I watched Marriage and Simplicity. That was quite delightful. I watched, A Deadly Adoption, of course, one of their best. And I watched A Murder to a Habit. That was about nuns killing each other. And, of course, I watched, Ransom something. Ransom 2, I think it was.
I thought this would be one of your signature gags, Martin.
What's gag?
Of saying you've watched something and then not having watched it.
No, I definitely watch Lifetime films regularly. Why would I ever say such a thing if I didn't actually do
signature
it?
lies, if I may.
No, I do not lie.
Well, how did you acquire so much wealth then?
Yeah, well, gentlemen.
Lord knows I lied.
I was born into it, I hate to tell you.
Old money.
It was like,
West Egg.
well, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps, but those bootstraps were made of hundreds of millions of dollars of my parents' wealth.
of daddy's leg hairs.
Yes, his shavings of his legs were dollar bills to my eyes.
Citizen Kane.
Yes.
So he buys a newspaper company and he says, I will be honest. And then XYZ happens. No longer honest about it.
He becomes, there's many moral challenges that I think he comes across, and he fails each of them, as it turns out.
It's also weird that we don't see him from like age 7 to age like 20 whatever.
When a movie that's ostensibly, I would say, about how he missed his teenage years doesn't show any of those teenage years, it is a little odd in hindsight.
But it was good. Orson Welles, I commend him for his acting.
What other Orson Welles films have you seen, gentlemen? Directing
may.
or acting?
Are you? I feel like this is a
Orson-
weird swipe at my level of culturedness.
No, I'm just curious. Kelly?
Orson Welles, more like Orson Greats. I'll leave it at that.
Quite good as always.
I've seen every single
The Magnificent
one of Orson
Ambersons.
Welles films.
Welles films.
I've seen them all.
F for fake. The Third Man. I'm listing films of his that
Yes,
you
I
haven't
agree.
seen.
Yes, I completely. Yes,
Of
I'm right
course.
there with you.
Seen those.
You've passed my test.
I've watched that
True,
one. And that
brothers
one
in
as
cinema.
well.
Yes.
And the other one you mentioned.
Oh, good. Then we can continue with the podcast.
0 out of 10.
My hat has come off of my head.
I'm sorry, what were we saying?
Oh, rate the film, Kelly.
Oh, 10 out of 10.
Oh, good. Thank
A fine piece of cinema.
Thank
Huzzah! Excelsior!
Raise a glass to Kelly, please.
Here.
Like from Hamilton.
Raise a glass to Kelly.
He said he would do it.
I said I would sing. Scott?
Let. As a spoof.
Yes, of course.
Oh.
Wait.
Spoof.
What?
What is this spoof
What
that
does
you talk
spoof
of?
mean?
0 out of 10.
Oh, no.
Is that good or
Well,
bad?
This
I
movie
believe-
is
Let me
most
look it up on Urban
serious.
Dictionary.
Kelly, while you're looking it up on Urban Dictionary, I will also look it up on freedictionary.com.
And while I'm at it, I'll look up deal as well.
Yes,
Well-
I was so confused by that, and that never was addressed. Thank you, Kelly.
I believe it's called short language. Slangwage.
Unfamiliar to my ears.
Rate it as a film as well, Scott.
I shall. As a film. 10 out of 10.
Ah, yes.
I am most excited.
Thank you.
I agreed earlier with my review.
I shall rate it. Now, I'm going to first rate it similar to you. I'll rate it as a spoof, as you say. I don't quite understand the meaning of the language, but I don't know if I need to rate it as
What if
such.
I said rate it as a goof?
Well, of course, as a goof, it's 0 out of 10. What a...
How do you not know what deal is, but you know what spoof and goof is?
No, I don't know what spoof is, but I do know what goof is.
Spoof. A humorous imitation of something, typically a film or particular genre of film, in which
Sounds-
its characteristic features are exaggerated for comic effect.
Most lowbrow.
Beneath me.
Used in a sentence, a Robin Hood spoof.
This agrees with me not.
0 out of 10. Citizen Kane is no spoof of mine. As a film, though. Ooh. 10 out of 10.
Oh!
And that is my actual rating for the film.
As opposed to mine, which is what? A fake rating, you say?
You talked some trash, as they say on the streets, about the film earlier.
It was constructive criticism.
Oh, good. They'll go back and re-edit it. Yes, I'm sure.
They shall if I decree it.
Okay. Well, we'll dig up Orson Welles' dead corpse, I suppose. He'll do that wine commercial again, too.
Poddington. Yes, master.
Come over here, son. Come over here.
Will do.
I need you to gather a shovel and go find the gravesite of Orson Welles, you see? You can say no if you don't want to do it.
Wow, you are most forgiving to your intern.
I like to give him a break once in a while. He's been working for 100 hours this week.
Poddington, take the shovel, but you must finish mixing our show first.
Yes, steaks. Okay, thank you.
Poddington 2, get out of here!
Poddington, quit doing laps around the microphones, please.
Are we done rating it?
I believe we are.
Now, Martin,
Well, what is it, Kelly?
with your new concerto moniker, do you happen to have a song for us?
I do, but of course I need to pull it up in my notebook of my own, I believe.
Ah, yes.
Well,
Is it a treble clef or a
unfurl your
bass clef?
scroll.
Your grimace.
My goodness, he's lost in his many leather-bound notes. He can't seem to. He seems to be scrolling, as it were, through his
guess.
notebook in a most frantic fashion.
Please lick your finger. You'll burn it otherwise.
I'm looking. Vamp a little bit, boys. Vamp a little bit. Why? I titled it
He
as...
seems most flustered.
He's quite flustered.
For some reason, I titled this week's concerto as the title of the song, making it extremely difficult to search for in my notes.
I said you simply turned to the page you wrote it upon. Mm-hmm. What are you talking of? These search terms?
Well, you see, I title at the top of each page of my notes in my...
Does your notebook not have an appendix?
It does not. It does not. I do not go far enough into appendix mode, as they say. I simply write the title at the top of the
appendix
page.
mode.
Truly a left brain. A left brain, as it were.
As we all know, us men of high standing know, appendix mode is when you...
Gentlemen,
Actually, now that I bring it up, I remember you
It's
did have
sort
your
of like
appendix
beast
removed.
mode. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there.
Sorry for the frivolity. Frivolity.
too many comments on this, gentlemen. This week's concerto is, of course, an excerpt from Peer Gynt. The excerpt is titled In the Hall of the Mountain King. I shall play it for us.
I say, Martin,
Lay it on me.
while I was listening to that concerto, I did begin to wonder, I've never asked you before, of which region do you come from?
Of course, I come from Brooklyn, New York. You see, the America. Before they became the states, they were the 13 original colonies, and my ancestors come from there. Of course, our accents carried on for years.
Moving on from regions.
For this week's piece of music, we reviewed Peer Gynt by Edvard Grieg, a symphony which was created as an accompaniment to the play of the same name. It premiered in 1876. This piece features the famous In the Hall of the Mountain King, which we played a little excerpt for you. This shows up in Act 2 of the piece and has appeared in many pieces of modern popular culture.
Such rich detail you've given us, Martin.
Of course, I've done the deepest of digging. I went to the Library of Congress.
The deepest of the...
The deepest of
I've done the deepest of the...
I, of course, went to the library in Wembley Stadium, you might say.
Now,
You went to the
Dare I say-
Library of Minas Tirith.
Yes, where there were many leather-bound books that were quite dusty. I had to dust them off. I needed a candle to read them by, and of course I read out loud for...
Many days I spent reading these ponderous tomes.
Yes, as they would say.
Grandpa, get out of here.
He's back again.
We want you not in this podcast studio.
This piece was written over the course of a decade. Grieg extracted 8 movements to create 2 separate 4-movement suites. He was Norwegian, born in 1843, and he used
not of this century, or a different one also.
It is, of course, 2008, and so this was a different century.
The year of the financial crisis. I care not of such things.
Do you remember when the President of the United States gave us more money for our mistakes?
That's right, for we are the big banks. I was confused by that statement, but then I remembered who we are, the rich guys.
We are, of course, every rich guy in the world.
You, and me.
And that, of course, is our novelty song segment for the week, gentlemen. Unless you have more...
Concerto.
Sorry.
What I like about that song is it starts kind of quiet,
Yes.
Right.
Dun, dun, dun,
And
dun,
then
dun, dun,
it's-
dun,
it's
dun,
a
dun,
little
dun, dun.
Perhaps if I wait a bit longer.
A
a little bit louder
continue
now.
to listen.
And a little bit louder now.
And
a little bit louder now.
And a little bit louder now.
And
a little bit louder now. And a little bit louder softer now. And a little softer now. And a little softer now.
You know you make me want to exclaim. And that's what I like about that song.
That's quite good. You're correct. Those are good reasons to like that song. It's one of my personal favorite concertos, of course. Not novelty songs, like I said incorrectly before.
Martin,
What is a novelty song? I've learned what a spoof is from this urbane dictionary. But,
trivial. Martin, do you have an item of curiosity for us?
Why, Kelleth? I, of course.
Kelwood.
Sorry, Kelward. I, of course, do word have a novelty.
It's like that show on HBO or Showtime or whatever about the lesbians. Kelward.
but
The Kelward.
But all about different people named Kelly?
Yes.
For this week's product, I went far and wide. You see, I traveled across the land. I went to the furthest places to find an item of curiosity for us to discuss, something that none of us would have ever seen before, a brand new object that we, of course, have no previous experience with. And so, of course, I have purchased, they're called,
What a
Lay's
foreign object to my eyes.
They are
Such
called-
bright yellow, it burns me so.
Shield your eyes.
No, thank you.
They are called Lay's potato chips. They are some kind of snack.
What is? Say that again.
It's a chip made of potato, you see.
Lyle's
Lay's. L-A-Y.
Lyle's
No.
potato.
I'd like to go.
Chips.
I'd like to go. Lay's potato.
Let me do it. I'll wait.
Here,
Perhaps to understand the pronunciation, I should do my character, Poor Guy Larry.
Poor guy Larry.
Rice potato chips.
Would you like a Lay's potato chip, poor guy Larry?
Gee, I sure would. I have him every day, boss.
I'll try to open. There's no obvious way to open this, so I will just do my best to try to.
Take your finger and your thumb.
Martin, stop being savage.
I'm tempting to open
The
this.
savagery shall not
Pull
stand,
it from the
man.
sides, you numbskull.
Oh, from the top. And like that.
Ooh.
And like that, poor guy Larry can enjoy himself.
One
Little
of my mother-in-laws
treat.
was quite poor, so I know a thing or two about bags.
Was that your third wife, the one with the syphilis?
Why would you
I
bring
say,
up something
Martin,
about
again
someone who
with these-
might happen upon our play button?
It's almost as
On
if
the
you're out
interwebs.
to make this an awkward experience for all.
Try a chip, Kelly. This will make you feel better.
Hey,
yes.
you guys don't mind if I eat this right next to this here microphone, do yees?
Poor guy Larry
I believe
talked
that would
directly
sound
into
quite
the mic.
interesting on the microphone.
There's these videos on the YouTube.com I see titled ASMR videos where people enjoy listening to people eat, so I guess have at
I
it,
do
poor
believe
guy.
it's asthma.
Ah, yes, I've had some asthma before.
Cousin
What
of
do you...
aspirin.
You make a face as though that's a double entendre, and I do want to know what you intend to mean by it.
You see, I have much mirth in my ass, and that is called asthma.
It's like what
quite
they gave
salty.
to Jesus on his birthday with the frankincense.
What they gave to Jesus? You mean my ancestors?
What do you mean, they people?
How dare you call them a they? They had names, Scott.
Yes, and they were commoner number 1, commoner number 2, and king with the gold.
I don't understand. I'm very much lost here. I don't understand. I thought it was very classically known. It was 3 kings
We
Prince.
3 kings
Okay.
shall...
of your favorite word.
Frankincense?
Asthma.
Not a
No,
king
no,
item.
the we 3 kings of.
Oh boy, I don't know the word. I'm blanking, as they
It's
say.
your favorite word. The same
Deal?
as the express.
The Orient?
Yes,
My favorite.
you love to say it.
We have not discussed these potato chips. I also wanted to point out that they are a party pack size, which I don't know what that is, a party. What could that be? I have never heard of such a word before.
Is it
You've
like
never
some
had a
sort of
gathering before?
Festive gathering?
A gathering? Who would I... A gathering of what? Of flies around
Right, you stand
ointment?
in your large chamber and scream to your wife across the ballroom.
Well, she's working on her puzzles. I need not bother her.
her many puzzles.
Yes.
These chips.
How else would we know she's bored?
These chips, they're salty like caviar, but they lack the wealth.
Yes, I need a little more wiggle in my food.
I need a little more decadence in my food.
I need butter and crackers.
Yes, the most lavish things a man can eat.
Well, but I mean like gold butter and golden crackers, of
Silver
course.
crackers
Smoking
and
salmon,
bronze cheese.
capers, and caviar.
and diamond Ritzbits.
Poor guy Larry, quit doing your rich guy impression. We don't have any time for that.
It's I, rich guy Lawrence.
Larry, I do enjoy you so, but I shall call the police if you keep interrupting like this.
I say I shall put my characters away.
Thank you, Scott. I always get confused on whether you are real or your characters are
I
real.
shall regain my composure.
Thank you so much. Well, gentlemen, that is going to do it for us this week, I believe, on cinema, concertos, and items of curiosity, of course.
Nailed it, my good man.
I have.
Thanks for listening.
We very much enjoy your presence.
You're welcome.
Oh no, I have to...
Oh no.
It's still recording.
Leave this in.